Hi, I'm Jennifer Bourne of jenniferbourne.com, and I'm glad you're here because today we are talking about common mistakes in estimating website projects and how to fix them. Now, whether it's by email, by phone, or through your website, it's really exciting when somebody reaches out to inquire about working with you on a new project, and it's even more exciting when the project sounds interesting. This is why most freelance web designers and web developers get a little overly ambitious about potential new projects, and they rush into creating an estimate or a proposal that can impress the prospect. The intent behind the rush is good, but rushing into a website estimate sets you up for future disappointment and lost sales because when things are rushed, mistakes are made. In July 2018, my agency celebrated its 13-year anniversary. And over those years, especially in the early days of my business, I made pretty much every mistake that you can possibly make when estimating and pricing projects for branding, for web design, for graphic design, and even for development projects. As a result, there were times when I ended up working for free, completing projects at a loss, and having some really awkward conversations with clients. It wasn't very fun. And I hope that by sharing some of the lessons that I have learned, you won't have to make the same mistakes that I did. So here are the most common mistakes freelancers make when creating new project estimates and how to fix those problems or avoid them altogether. Number one, not speaking to the client first. At my agency, Born Creative, we never prepare or send over an estimate before we speak to a prospect in person, on the phone, or through a video chat. A conversation with them allows us to ask critical questions to vet both the client and the project. It also gives us the opportunity to gather important information we need to accurately price the project and prepare that estimate. It allows us to get any of our questions that we have answered and to see if the prospect has any questions. When we can talk to them on the phone or via video chat or however it is, it gives us the ability to make sure we're going to like working with that client. And it ensures that we're not wasting valuable time putting together an estimate and going through, all the hoops that have to be jumped through for a client who isn't going to convert or isn't going to be a good fit. Number two is knowing your minimum hourly rate. Too many freelancers and agency price projects based on best guesses, industry rates, that are kind of the average going rate, or past projects, or what they think projects should cost, right? Some agencies and freelancers even price projects based on what they think a client can pay, which all of those things are a recipe for disaster. Every freelancer and agency needs to know their minimum hourly rate so they can make the amount of money they want to make and enjoy the quality of life they desire, or so that their team members can enjoy the quality of life that they desire. The minimum hourly rate is the minimum amount of money needed per hour worked to pay all expenses, work the proper number of hours, and have profit left over. It is the cost of doing business. When calculating your minimum hourly rate, you can't just divide the salary you want to make by the hours you want to work. You also have to take into account your overhead expenses like rent and telephone, internet, utilities, office equipment, furniture, supplies, software subscriptions, business travel expenses, your own salary, workers' comp, benefits, insurance, taxes, advertising, marketing, memberships or professional associations that you're a part of, legal and accounting fees, training, all of those things need to be factored in. The total number of billable hours, including how many hours are worked each week, is also something you have to take into account, right? And how many of those hours worked are actually billable? Because let's be honest, if you're freelancing or you're a small agency, you're probably also spending hours on administrative tasks. You also have to look at how many days off you want to take per year, including your sick days, your vacation days, holidays, and business travel days, because those are days you're not in the office and you're not necessarily doing billable work. Number three, not accounting for profit. A big problem when estimating new projects is that you cannot simply price the scope of work based on the number of hours it's going to take to complete it. You also have to include a profit margin. When your salary is taken into account, it's not profit. Your salary is a business expense, right? Profit is what is left over after all expenses are paid, including your salary, right? So problem number 4, big mistake number 4, is not accounting for additional expenses. Occasionally, projects are going to require the purchase of specific materials, tools, plugins, or other solutions. If you are going to be purchasing or securing any of those items for your clients, you need to account for those fees upfront in the estimate. If you need to spell out exactly what the client must purchase because they're purchasing it, you need to do that in the estimate as well. Mistake number 5, not scoping projects correctly. When estimating new projects, the goal should be to outline a straightforward scope of work, provide the most accurate estimate of cost possible, and set clear expectations. The problem is, most of the time, freelancers and agencies jump the gun and they provide a project estimate without doing the needed due diligence and discovery to gather the exact details that would allow them to create an accurate scope of work. And to be able to communicate with the client what is and is not included. A lot of times people forget that second part of what's not included. Now, before creating a project estimate, be sure to explore all potential avenues, right? Ask a lot of questions, and not only about what your client needs right now, but what they intend on doing with the website in the future. And just to be safe, consider doubling your estimated timeline because almost every service provider overestimates their ability and underestimates the amount of time it takes to get things done. Common mistake number 6, not providing package options. Providing one investment option makes the proposal all about what's best for you and not necessarily what's best for the client. And itemizing every little item will give the client the opportunity to go shop on price alone, and you don't want that to happen either. Providing multiple investment options, on the other hand, like a small package, a medium package, and a large package, allows you to meet the client where they're at with options that will fit no matter where their budget is or what their timeline is or what they're able to, get done. So the idea is that you want to meet the client exactly where they're at with exactly what they need with the mid-tier option. Then the smaller option is like the getting started option. And the larger option is the option of like, if you want all the bells and whistles, you want the whole shebang, then that's the package for you. By creating 3 options as packages or bundles, it's more difficult for prospects to price shop and compare your package or your estimate side by side with the competitors. So you'll avoid that idea of the race to the bottom and your clients just deciding on who's cheaper. Common mistake number 7, not including terms and conditions. If you have been in business long enough, you know that no project is perfect, right? No client is perfect. If every client was a great client, we wouldn't have websites like Clients from Hell. And if every project was a great project, we wouldn't have prospects who have horror stories to deal with. In every client agreement, estimate, or proposal you send, be sure to include clear terms and conditions that set expectations, explain how things work, and what happens if things go wrong. Don't leave out payment terms, technical terms, or legal terms because they might sound scary, feel intimidating, or make your estimate feel too long. Remember, good contracts protect you and your client, and they set you both up for long-term success and a really positive relationship. Common mistake number 8, not sticking to your guns. A few times over the past 13 years, prospective clients have asked me to change my terms in my contracts to fit their business and how they work. Twice I said yes to win the job, and twice I regretted it with every fiber of my being, and twice I vowed to never do that again. Thankfully, after the second time, I listened to my own advice. When I compromised my process, the way that I do things and the terms that I'm work best in, it negatively affected the project and the client relationship because from the very start, I let the client tell me how to run my business and do my job. Remember, you are the professional. You're the expert the client is hiring to help them achieve something they can't achieve on their own. So stick to your systems and processes and hold fast to your terms and conditions because that's how you do business best. It's how you'll be able to best serve your client and how the best results will be created. Common mistake number 9, not making the proposal a marketing piece, right? Before I started freelancing, I worked at a public relations agency and I was the lone in-house designer. And I designed and laid out every major proposal that the firm presented at that time. And what I learned is that the proposal is a critical part of the sales and marketing process. Often the prospect who receives the proposal isn't the only one making a final buying decision. Instead, they share the proposal and maybe a competitor's proposal with a business partner or their boss or a spouse or, other stakeholders that you might not know about. And they ask for input and they ask for feedback. The problem is that those other people who review your proposal might not have any idea who you are. They don't know anything about your company, about your reputation. They haven't been to your website. They haven't seen your portfolio, and they haven't read any testimonials. This is exactly why you need to treat your proposal as a marketing tool to help close the sale. In your proposal, consider adding a section about the company or about the team members the client will be interacting with. Throw in some relevant testimonials as well. Give those mystery stakeholders the information they need to say yes to your proposal. Now, mistake number 10, not making the prospect a priority. If you run an agency or a freelance business, I know that you're really, really busy. I know that you probably wear far too many hats and do far too many jobs. I also know that finding the right balance between serving your existing clients and landing new clients can be really, really difficult. When you finish a meeting, a call, or a video chat with a prospective client, and the next step is preparing and providing that proposal, don't put it off. The faster you can get a quality proposal completed and out to that prospective client, the more likely it is that they're actually going to sign it and get it back to you because you're showing them that they're important to you and that their business matters to you. At my agency, Born Creative, we believe that everything we do from an initial estimate to the project follow-up after its launch should make things easier for the client. Our clients are busy. They're often overworked themselves. So part of our job is to alleviate that stress, to make sure the project runs smoothly and to require the minimum amount of effort from the client. This approach is especially important at the beginning of the project. Requiring clients to fax back signed contracts is often difficult and time consuming because people don't have fax machines anymore. Asking the prospective client to print a document, sign it, and send it back takes a lot of work. And making the client approve an estimate or mail it to you via stale mail just makes them jump through unnecessary hoops. Instead, consider leveraging online software and tools to send that estimate, to track its activity, and to allow the client to accept, sign, and pay the deposit electronically. So the idea here solves problem number 11 of not making it easy to get started, right? When you make them jump through the hoops, faxing back the contract, printing it out, signing it, and mailing it back, or making the client jump through all those hoops, you're making it really, really hard for them to say yes and get started. So do everything you can to avoid those obstacles and avoid any of those roadblocks. Now, common mistake number 12 is not making it easy for the client to pay. It is critical that you make it as easy as possible for the client to give you money. You want to give them payment options so they can choose what works best for them. So provide options for payment terms, including full pay, payment plan, and retainer options. And provide options for payment type, including check, bank transfer, credit card, or PayPal. Common problem number 13, not catching typos and errors. It is so embarrassing to admit it, but in the early years of my freelance career, I lost a few projects I really, really wanted because I was overworked. I was rushing through the process of creating an estimate and a project proposal. I just grabbed the last one I'd sent out, went to go update it with the new prospect's information, and I sent it to the prospective client with the wrong name on it. I also ended up doing at least one or two projects at a loss because I used a past estimate and I was updating it for the new client and I forgot to change the payment terms. I forgot to change the investment amount, and the client signed the contract and sent it back to me, and I realized this was my mistake. And yes, I could have gone back and said, oh crap, I made a mistake. This isn't the right price, but I chose to make that a little bit of a harder learning experience. And I definitely learned my lesson there. So when you finish creating a project proposal or an estimate or a client agreement, don't send it right away. Instead, finish it up and walk away. Come back later with a fresh head and then proofread it carefully. Right? One easy way to do this is by reading it out loud. If you don't trust yourself to proofread it meticulously, make sure you have a team member or somebody else available to proofread it to you. Consider making a quality assurance checklist to use each time you create a new proposal. Now, common mistake number 14 is not following up. Never provide a prospective client a proposal and then sit back and wait to hear from them. Until that estimate is signed, until that contract is signed and you've got that initial deposit, the project is still yours to lose. When providing an estimate, communicate that you're available to answer any questions, provide more information, or provide greater detail in any area that your client may have some concerns about, and reach out and let them know that you are here to make them, to help them make the best decision that they can for their business. Tell them that if you don't hear back by a certain date, you'll follow up with them. Also, if you're using software that lets you see what parts of the estimate the client's looking at the most, or what part they get to before they stop and they go and do something else, use that information, right? Reach out to the client and say, hey, we haven't heard back from you. Have you had a chance to look at the proposal? We noticed that clients sometimes have some questions about this one part. If you have any questions about that, please let us know. Right? You don't have to tell them that you're tracking things, but you're letting them know that other people have questions about this too. It's okay that you do. You're opening the door for questions and you're inviting the client to step through it. You're giving them a higher comfort level of coming to you with questions about the proposal. So one of the things that I want to, talk about before we wrap up here is creating estimates that convert prospects into clients. So now that you know what not to do when creating freelance project proposals, and you've learned how to avoid making some of the big mistakes that I made in the early years of my business, you can create new project proposals with confidence. If you follow the tips I outlined here, you will soon see that your estimates are so effective at converting prospects into clients that you might have to consider raising your rates. I'll cross my fingers for you. Again, I am Jennifer Bourne of jenniferbourne.com. Thanks so much for being here, and until next time, have a great day.